I wanted to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to our regular Sunday night health show. Really what it boiled down to, because on Sunday nights, we get a chance to hear sometime from Dr. Prasad, and we get a chance to hear from a number of people that really help us to appreciate that when it comes to our health, we can truly say our health is our wealth.
These statements and comments have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This information is for educational and entertainment purposes only and includes information on recent advances in research on micronutrients. Engage, the Micronutrient Company, does not claim that our products diagnose, treat, cure, heal, or prevent any disease or injury. Engage's products do, however, address our deficiencies and provide our bodies with the nutrition that we are lacking. So right back over to you, Bernard.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Well, as everybody didn't come to hear me tonight. They actually came to hear Dr. Prasad, but there's an individual that I want to introduce that, since he had the love, and I stress he had the love to let me know that this company, this product, that Dr. Prasad exists, and he has literally turned my wife and I life around, and we're now enjoying life to its fullest. And even though we've only been on this product 7 months, I believe the best still is yet to come. So I want to introduce you to this person that basically have brought all of us together with this call today, along with his co-workers or his staff. And I want y'all to put your hands together. I want you to welcome Jonathan Jones. Jonathan, it's in your hands.
Thank you very much, Bernard. I have no idea whether my internet's going to work well or not. I'm in Baltimore area right now. So it's been okay, but it's been a little bit iffy. I've noticed I had to shut everything down. So if I dive out, Jeff, Bernard, you guys know what to do. Just step on in. But thank you very much for setting our program up, Bernard. As you heard, Bernard mentioned we were going to be talking about diabesity. And Dr. Prasad is going to give us quite a bit of information regarding diabesity. It's a serious problem. And as Bernard intimated, not many people are even aware that that expression exists. So it's not a new thing. I went searching for it, and turns out as far back as 10 years ago, individuals were making reference to that dreaded condition, diabesity. So it is very, very real. And I'd like to see if we will get some background information on the connection between the two of them. And we'll talk about it just a little bit, just to make sure everyone is aware of it. But what got my attention about diabetes was, like many of you, we've had it in the family. And I always expected that one day I was going to be dealing with diabetes, because I knew all too well what it was like. My mother suffered with diabetes, and I know that what happened when she got into a diabetic low. She always said, if ever I get to this point right here, put something sweet in my mouth. And she always told us exactly what to do if she got into a diabetic low. She always had to stop and eat something. We knew what it was like for her to be giving herself injections. And just the idea of giving yourself injections, to a child, that made the disease all the more heinous, because, needles were just, the worst thing you could possibly present to a child. But my mother died from the complications of diabetes. That's the official reason. But I actually believe that my mother died more from lack of proper nutrition and lack of information and lack of the knowledge that we have access to today. I truly believe that if anyone is suffering with diabetes today, it's because they simply do not want to do what it takes to alter their future and alter their situation. I strongly believe that. And the research, I believe, supports that as well. So, but let's see if those opinions are shared by an expert in the field. The expert in the field that we're going to talk to is Dr. Prasad. And I say Dr. Prasad, but I really, really strongly believe that everybody needs to understand that this man is not just Dr. Prasad. He's really Professor Prasad. So hold tight there. My computer seems to be going into an epileptic fit. So Hang on. It gave me a warning that I was going to stop the screen sharing for Nick. Trying to decide if it wants to give me the screen sharing I just asked it to do for me. So it seems to be working. So hold on. But this is a little bit of information about Dr. Prasad.
Yep, that's your cue.
Well, here we go. We're going to go right into some of these are some of Dr. Prasad's books that we will get to here in just a moment. But the man, and I really like what Jonathan stated here, Professor Prasad. I've had others refer to Dr. Prasad as the Einstein of our time, just because of his knowledge, his understanding of the human body. One of my favorite statements, if you were to take this booklet and go back to the very second page, it says, the U.S. military asked Dr. Kedar Prasad, PhD, and this is my favorite statement, the world's foremost expert on micronutrition and supplementation, to develop a supplement that could provide a singular daily source of nutritional defense and nourishment for U.S. troops. So that is truly, I think, the opening statement that we need there with the science behind it. We go right into the man behind MicroDaily, professor at University of Colorado School of Medicine for 30 plus years. Just amazing. In fact, it looks like we've got Jonathan back with us, and he can continue on with this because his slide looks a little better than mine right out of the booklet. But I am just so pleased to be here and that we have access to Dr. Prasad, and not just on these Sunday evening calls, but also throughout the week. In fact, we have coming up here on Wednesday, the 1st. It is going to be February 1st. We have an Ask Dr. Prasad evening that is going to be available for all of you that are on tonight's call, as well as those that are going to get I'm sure, a text message and an email reminding us that Wednesday night is our Ask Dr. Prasad. So Jonathan is writing on the screen. That means I need to kick it in here and say author and co-author of over 32 books, published 250 peer-reviewed articles. In fact, he is still publishing. We've got one that Jonathan referenced just 2 weeks ago about the incredible research that Dr. Prasad has done into anti-aging, and that is going to be released to the public in March. So here we have two of I know Jonathan has prepared this slide. If you use your little QR code there in the middle, it'll take you right to Amazon, where you can enjoy your own copy of Dr. Prasad's books, particularly our new favorite, the dementia and memory loss. There's been so many people that can comfortably read this. They can they can pull the information out of it because of how well Dr. Prasad has written it, and written it for the layman, for those of us that don't have anywhere near his comprehension of the human body and micronutrition. But it literally lays out for us the best approach for those that are suffering from memory loss and dementia. So just amazing. And Jonathan, when you're ready, certainly I'll hand it back off to you. It looks like we're getting some slides going through here. Okay. But there we go. Hey,
Yeah.
how was that for pinch hitting?
It's that's pretty good. That's what we do. That's how we do it. We are just one big team here. So whatever we need to do, we keep it going. Thank you very much, Jeff, for stepping in on that. I highly recommend that while you're getting that book on dementia, that you go ahead and search and find that book on cancer as well. We're just collecting Dr. Prasad's books. And I think it would be a wise thing because one day I believe that they will be collector's items and the world will be looking for information about this brilliant man. So it is my pleasure and my privilege to introduce to our discussion the man that I think that is absolute genius when it comes to nutrition, health and wellness, Dr. Prasad. Dr. Prasad, thank you very much for once again joining us and allowing us to take some time to have a conversation with you about serious matters of concern. So can we add? Oh, there we go. Okay, I hear the voice of Dr. Prasad, so that's good. So Dr. Prasad, we didn't really spend a whole lot of time talking about this diabesity thing, but maybe you can kind of tell us a little bit about the history of tell us a little bit about diabetes itself. I've got some of your slides, and then maybe you can, as we get through some of your slides here, give us a little bit of a deeper dive into how obesity plays a role in this matter.
Yeah, first, sometimes general tendency here, and I know even in India, is that people have accepted this as a sure enough that we will get one time or the other. And some people feel it is a genetic. But, at least type 2 diabetes that we have, most of us have, is not a genetic. It is induced by environmental, diet, and your lifestyle. And so to accept that as a part of your growing up, and you will get eventually, I was talking to one of my relatives in India, and in India, this is has become very high, much higher than, say, 10, 20 years ago, and for the same reason that we have here. And so it is, first you have to understand this is not a genetic, even though a statistic says, for example, Black populations, Native Indian or Hispanic people have much higher incidence of diabetes than say, for example, white American. And this is nothing to do with genetics at all. So this one to emphasize that is very small, less than 5% of the diabetes are related to genetic issue. Most of them, 95% or more, are not related to genetics. So don't accept that fact. And
that is interesting. So this number then, Dr. Prasad, is...
yes, this is the incidence number. For example, we have a 1.4 million newly diagnosed cases every year, out of which 187,000 is type 1. Because type 1 is generally because of could be a small factor of genetics, but also it is an autoimmune disease and could be pancreas get damaged by viral infection. Then you get diabetes 1. And then here this is
in certain medications too. Certain medications can also trigger type 1?
Yes, certain medication can do it. Incidence in men is 6.6 per 1,000 cases. And in women, it is only 5.2. So it looks like men are more because their lifestyle is little worse than the female, is more susceptible to type 2 diabetes. Total prevalence that today, I think it was 1919, there were 37.3 million people who was actually diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And 96 million has a pre-diabetic case. And type 1 was about 1.6 million. So it is a small fraction at type 1 diabetes compared to the type 2 diabetes.
That's doing the math. That's somewhere in the area of 134 million people.
Yes.
That diabetes are pre-diabetic. That's huge.
That's amazing. And pre-diabetic is a very high risk of developing if you don't intervene right way, either micronutrient or diet and both, then it will go to the diabetes. So here are some of the risk factor is for diabetes. More common risk factor is obesity, as mentioned, Jonathan mentioned, obesity has a very 5 times higher risk of developing, and the reason is for that. And as you know, obesity can cause by many factors. It can cause by diet rich in fat, lack of physical activity, which is listed here, distribution of fat in the abdomen. These are all the things that happens when you are diabetes. And another factor that I don't know if, since you are traveling, Jonathan, you received my revised slide or not. But another very important factor that contributes to both obesity and diabetes is that, and there has been data available, that if you take a protein-rich diet from, say, meat, and this experiment was done from meat, then the number of what is called a branched protein.
A branch protein.
Branched amino acids, BCAA, branch amino acids. This is very important. And what are branch amino acids? Is leucine, isoleucine, and valine. These three. So in a protein, 35% of the protein has this branched amino acids, 35%. And if you have a higher level of branched amino acid in your system, because of the rich protein diet, you increase the risk of diabetes as well as other chronic diseases like cancer. This is very interesting. So when they did the experiment, they put a person with a low protein-rich diet, and they saw the fat content start dropping, and also they saw markedly reduced risk of diabetes. So I was not aware of in the beginning. People have a tendency to, oh yeah, the more protein you take, if you're taking a lot of exercise, then some protein-rich diet would be okay, but not too high a protein diet. But most of us are meat eater, and meat is the richest source of protein, and also richest source of the branch amino acids. And so it is very important to have a branch amino acids, but excessive amount is bad for you with respect to developing, and as well as the deficiency is equally bad. So you have to maintain a correct level balance of protein.
Wow.
And this is important. I just recently, when I was looking for you for some more information for my book, I found that this was I was not aware of, that the excessive amount of protein will generate higher level of branched amino acid like leucine, isoleucine, and valine, and increase the risk of diabetes and as well as cancer. So that's
Dr. Prasad, you're kind of blowing my mind a little bit right now. These proteins come from what source? Because I was going to ask you more about the harm that would come from carbohydrates, because I found almost 260,000 papers written in PubMed.
I think carbohydrate is also, because carbohydrate, body uses energy, and carbohydrate is easily converted to energy, that means easily converted to a fat.
Yes.
And so I think carbohydrate is the main. If you take a too high carbo diet, you will become obese.
Okay. So those high carbohydrates is just like you said, it becomes sugar, and the body just stores it away as fat. The fat right. Insulin in the system, and insulin.
Yeah, obesity. Yeah, I think carbohydrate, again, excess. It has to be balanced. Excess carbohydrate is as bad as excessive protein-rich diet.
Wow.
Mechanism is different. Mechanism of doing is different. One is increases indirect way, increases of fat, and fat then become high risk because you have a lot of inflammation, oxidative stress, and then you develop all kinds of illnesses, including diabetes. But in case of a high, the rich protein is equally bad.
Wow. So these proteins, what kind of proteins, just so that our
protein company, you can take a meat too, but don't take an excessive amount of, for example, they always recommend red meat, but that has many other reasons for cancer prevention, reduced amount. In other words, you take a protein, and your body needs about 56 grams, and average income is much, much higher, US diet, American diet, in a protein. And then if you combine protein-rich diet with high level of carbohydrate, you have a double whammy. You see what I mean? And so,
yeah, well, Dr. Prasad.
so the question
average...
here is, you have a, I mean, I didn't know it. And question is that how to balance diet, In other words, then they recommend, okay, in diet, you take a low-fat, high-fiber diet. We have been telling them for last 50 years, take low-fat, high-fiber diet. Low-fat is important. High-fiber is important for fermentation and producing butyric acid and other good stuff. So we have been telling that. And don't smoke, we are telling it. The smoking also increased the incidence of diabetes. But we never said that don't take we are saying carbohydrate, we have been saying for a long time. But protein-rich diet was totally new to me, that you always say take a protein. Well, take a protein is good, but low protein diet is okay. But if you take a too low protein, that is also bad. So, because that will generate, say, so that's why I'm saying that, try to do as much as possible. You can. But it is impossible to fight this kind of recommendation for average people. No matter how many times you lecture them, they might reduce it. That is good. So once you become knowledgeable, I'm sure most of us will try to at least reduce this kind of excess of carbohydrate or excess of protein, And so in this way, I think we will be in good health. So diabetes is a central issue, and then you can see that there are many factors in diabetes. Risk factor you mentioned, not only the obesity, physical inactivity, even though very interesting thing was that the air pollution, if you breathe air pollution, in India, this is very much more than here. And their scientists have evaluated and found out that if you are breathing tiny particles, that increases the risk of not only lung disease, but also diabetes. Because increased oxidative stress and inflammation.
Wow.
And
so diet plays a role, no question about it.
Yep.
And all these external factors also play a huge role.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly stress.
Smoking, stress, anything that can elevate your oxidative stress in your body and inflammation, that will contribute to diabetes as well as some other disease as well.
Wow.
You have a slide
that's
of
pretty
risk factor? See if I cover the risk factor.
That's amazing. We want to hear a little bit more about the research that you've done, because I know you've got some research. But can we get Nick to go ahead and share one of these testimonials for us that that shows that you're barking up the right tree? So can we hear maybe Greg's story, Nick? And if someone is on here now that has some particular success with diabetes, we would love to have you share your story with us.
Yes.
All right. Now this was in July. All right. My brother-in-law, he's got diabetes, high blood pressure, and stage 4 kidney disease. Okay. And they both been on micro daily about, I'm gonna say about a month and a half total. Okay. They started in, let's say, August 6th. So September, about a month and a half, almost 2 months. Now my brother-in-law, man, I don't even know what to say about this. His blood sugar is leveled out. He's still at 114, 125. That was, before when he woke up, he tested it, and it was at 300, 350. After about 4 or 5 days of being on micro daily EMF, it went down between 114 and 125. He was happy just about that. All right, now his high blood pressure has leveled out. Okay, to where, he's scared to take his medicine for his high blood pressure. I said, no, go ahead and take it, dude. I said, you take your medicine, let the doctors tell you not to take it. All right. Now, yesterday, he's got stage 4 kidney disease, and he's going Wednesday for his checkup on it. He went and got his blood test, and we've been waiting on the score back from it's called the EGRF number, which tells you when you need to go on dialysis. His number last month was 15, which is 1 away from going on dialysis. Last night, when he got back yesterday, we checked his my chart. You ready for this, man? He'd been on it a month and a half. His number went from 15 to 26.
Did the doctor go back and check it again just to make sure?
We ain't went to the doctor yet. That was they sent him for a blood test a week before his appointment. So I myself are
help us with this one, Dr. Prasad. How does a man go from in the 300s and in just a few days wake up with the blood sugar levels in the 115s and his blood pressure start to normalize and his EGRF number change?
EGFR, that's amazing. EGFR is a function of the kidney, and because kidney can filter at the rate, so higher the number, better you are. And when you have a kidney disease, then it goes down and requires dialysis and then transplantation and so on. And so it is very helpful to know that, because once your sugar goes down, that oxygen, because once the sugar is attached to the hemoglobin is the one which carries the oxygen to various tissue and for energy and normal function. But if your A1C is high because blood glucose was high, so sugar attached to hemoglobin, and then poor kidney doesn't get any oxygen very much, so they get deprived. And once it is increasing, and then A1C, I presume it decrease it, and therefore oxygenation can go to the other part of the organ very well. Not only that, then also with micro daily, you are reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. That also helps kidney to recover. And that's why efficiency of the function EGFR is increasing, and I hope it will go further. Only in 6 weeks, that's amazing.
That's mind-boggling. And I hope everybody understood that, because it blows my mind. Let me see if I got this right then, Dr. Prasad. What you just described is when a person's body is loaded down with sugar, that means that their blood vessels, the blood cells, are almost coated with glucose. So that means
coated with glucose, so cannot carry oxygen.
So it's not carrying oxygen. So that means that the organ, particularly the kidney, is not receiving the oxygen it needs. Therefore, go into kidney failure.
Function gradually goes down.
So, but here's a person who has all kinds of insulin. They're being injected with insulin. Why is the injection of insulin not facilitating the improvement of the glucose transferring into the cell so more oxygen can work?
But he was also getting insulin.
He was also being he was insulin dependent.
But insulin dependent. But he was saying that his blood level was fasting glucose was 300.
Yes.
So it was insulin resistance.
He had insulin resistance as well. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means then that that's where the oxidative stress that you mentioned before. So the insulin receptors were not
functioning.
Oh, that's not good.
No. So I think, and the reason they are not functioning because your body has as you know, increased production of free radicals and inflammation, and they will damage the receptor. And so insulin receptor can't be functional. Then you cannot get the glucose transporter protein from the cytoplasm to the cell surface, which allowed them to, which I will explain later in the slides. But
well, I do have some more of your slides, but I don't think I got your updated ones.
But that's
the-
okay.
the ones we-
I know what updated one was, so I can
Okay,
explain.
all right. Then let's go with your let's go back to your slides and let you keep going forward then.
Mhm.
Now, that was risk factors. This is all
Yeah.
about obesity. So this is one slide showing how obesity is has slammed.
Factor. Right. And obesity, as you said,
So-
obesity also is caused by taking not only a lot of carbohydrate, but also if you have protein-rich diet, that will increase the amount of the branch amino acids, and that also contributes to the obesity. So you have to balance that in order to reduce the obesity, not only reduce the carbohydrate and fat, but also reduce the protein-rich diet.
Gotcha.
Now, risk factor type 1, as you know, that this is a family history. Even that's the only place you have family history is very important.
Okay.
That you inherited. But in addition to family history, type 1, 2 diabetes can be also caused if there is an injury to pancreas. If your pancreas is using by at least 2 mechanisms, people have found out that they can produce insulin. For example, in autoimmune diseases, start killing,
Right.
damaging the pancreas. So pancreas can't produce insulin, then you have a type 1 diabetes. Another thing is sometimes viral exposure to the pancreas can destroy pancreas, and therefore you don't have any insulin and you have type 1 diabetes. But
Right.
this is only a small percentage.
Virus is not good. Any kind of virus can do that.
Yeah. And here are some of the symptoms of the increasing the thirst, frequent urination, increased hunger, unintended weight loss, fatigue, blurred vision, numbness and tingling in hand and feet, and slow healing of sores. These are symptoms of type 2 diabetes. It's very
And this
important.
could be an indicator of high levels of sugar or excess
Yeah.
levels of insulin in the body.
That's right.
Okay, so because excess, do I have it right, Dr. Prasad? Excess insulin causes the increased hunger.
Excess of insulin can also create problem, yeah. And if
Mhm.
your system is not, if your receptor is not functioning, the insulin can accumulate in the body and can cause all kind of toxicity.
Right. And this is the cost.
Yeah, and that's why it is important to cost. This is very important to know because this is a frightening. There is a $327 billion right now for the treatment of diagnosed diabetes.
Wow.
And if you consider the medical cost, which is $90 billion, also lost productivity, and there are certain amount for $1 billion medical cost that Medicare pays. So the total amount could be, if you compare everything, treatment of undiagnosed pre-diabetic, gestational diabetes, the total cost of diabetes could be $403 billion a year in 2017. Now it could be more. Right now, this data is from 2017.
Could be over 600 now.
Yeah, it is very important. Now, the question is how glucose is transported and utilized in the cell.
Okay.
As soon as the sugar gets elevated, like you take a meal, even a regular meal, sugar will go high in your bloodstream. As soon as it goes high, it sends a signal to pancreas, I need some insulin. Pancreas sends back insulin release. Insulin goes to the cell, which needs it, mostly the muscle cell and other cells, whosoever needs it. In cell surface, they have an insulin receptor. So the insulin goes and binds with the cell receptor. And once it binds it, that stimulates another pathway called AKT pathway. You don't have to remember that. Stimulate another pathway. And once that is get stimulated, then glucose transporter protein 4 or GLUT4, which are in the cytoplasm sitting idle, Once the system gets stimulated, receptor mediated, then they bring it
He
to
was
this
already
cell.
over there in Cleveland.
Beg your pardon?
Oh, so you can hear this.
Everyone is muted, but we still can hear people, which does not make sense at all.
Phone call.
Here you can see that he's in
There must be a sound coming through
insulin
my
receptor
earphone.
binding. Then insulin binding is the then there is another thing that gets stimulated, and then what happens that there is a glucose transporter protein lying around in the cytoplasm somewhere. This is the cell. I think you have nucleus. No, you have a cell. So what happens then? Not glucose doesn't go from here. Glucose goes from there, but insulin receptor then it brings the GLUT4 or glucose transporter protein, which is lying in the cytoplasm, to the nucleus and to the cell surface. And when that happens, then glucose, which was floating around in the blood, says you can come in. So glucose then enter into the cell and then utilizes for the energy and what other purposes. So you can see the glucose is going down, but glucose cannot
a lot of detail.
Yeah, you cannot enter until you have bring the glucose transporter protein on the cell surface. That's almost gatekeeper. If you don't bring them, the gate doesn't open and glucose cannot get in. It is very interesting. And so you can, oxidative stress can damage any of the places. That here is the
Anywhere.
Good example, right? That milk consumption. Glucose level rises in the blood. That's right. Send message to the pancreas. Pancreas produces and send insulin to the body. It's very beautifully done. And when it's done, then GLUT4 facilitate the uptake of glucose inside the cell. That's very important. And that cannot happen until the insulin gets stimulated. Then translocation glucose from we say the vesicle in a cytoplasm, the GLUT4 is in the vesicles. And then it migrates to the cell surface and then allow glucose to enter into the cell for generation of energy. So it is very simple way that glucose is regulated in the blood.
Wow.
Another thing is very important to remember, not only pancreas plays, but the liver also plays an important role that was not in the slide, because if you have excess of glucose in the body and insulin was doing thing, but it is stored in the liver as a glycogen. And when your body, suppose sometimes your body needs additional sugar and that meal is not providing it, and then liver says, I will produce alpha cell of the pancreas, start producing a hormone called glucagon. And then glucagon makes liver cell to convert glycogen to sugar and release into the blood.
Oh my goodness.
So liver cell plays a very important role.
My goodness, that's incredible. That's mind-boggling there too, Dr. Prasad. I didn't know that the liver could add to the problem.
Yeah. And that's why sometimes medication is diabetic medication to block liver to producing any more any sugar.
Wow, I didn't know that. Okay, so there are some other additional complications that come from.
Yeah, this is very important. The eye problem, retinopathy, they call it, is eye damage to your. Yeah. And there are all kind of different types of damage. Yeah. And surprisingly, 4.4 million people have retinopathy. Mm-hmm. And also you can see that nephropathy, 37, that means almost all the diabetic patient have the kidney damage. And out of which 786,000 has an end-stage kidney disease. We call it end-stage kidney disease. 71% people are on dialysis, and 29% people needs transplant, kidney transplant. This is a serious issue.
Yeah, I mean, Greg's brother-in-law was heading in this direction right there. So your father turned him around and took him off that train track.
And exactly, and if you look at that, all these things, the neuropathy, which is a peripheral neuropathy, not the central, it is only extremities outside your brain. 50% of the diabetic patient develop peripheral neuropathy, means tingling of the finger or knees or toes, or is a peripheral neuropathy.
Yeah.
And 90% of develop eventually if you heart or stroke, heart disease and a stroke.
Wow.
Another very important thing is that a food damage, sometimes like we said earlier, that if any kind of sore is difficult to heal. So if you have food damage and if it's not treated, it can go to a amputation, and 185,000, not 100. No, sorry, this figure is wrong. About 50,000 people last year has per year, not last year, per year have developed amputation of the limb. And out of that, you can see that Black African have 4 times more than white population because they have more diabetes that they don't care. Looks like they don't care. They don't take care of the diabetes as well as the white population do, in terms of reducing the rate. And in all these things, you always remember, you have increased oxidative stress, and inflammation is affecting all these processes, complication of diabetes. So
Unbelievable.
not only, if you have reduced it right in the beginning, not only can prevent it if you have not developed diabetes, but even when you develop diabetes, and if you have a good diet, and if you have micronutrient that we are suggesting, then you don't develop progress to further in all these complications, and you will have a good quality life.
And this is what you just said right there.
Yeah. There is increased oxidative stress, and we call it due to the excessive production of free radicals, which overwhelms your own body antioxidant defense system. Because we have all of us, all organs have defense system. Brain has the least, but they have it.
Right.
And increased chronic inflammation release toxic chemicals such as free radicals, pro-inflammatory cytokines, and all kind of other chemicals. And why increased chronic application occurs? When the oxidative damage produced by the oxidative damage to the cell is not repaired fully, it starts producing chronic inflammation because your immune system sends, no, I have to repair it, and send all kind of bad substance.
Wow.
These two cellular events initiate the development as well as progression of diabetes. Increased oxidative stress and chronic inflammation cause damage to the insulin receptor, as well as its AKT signaling pathway, which has to be stimulated to bring the glucose transporter and protein to the cell surface.
Right.
And if you don't do that, if they are damaged, they prevent the translocation of glucose transporter protein, and they then causing accumulation of glucose in your blood, and that leads to diabetes.
Wow, that's incredible. Let's Nick, Dr. Prasad, can we show can we play one additional testimonial?
Yeah, sure. I'd love to.
You may have heard this one, but I think there's many in our audience that have not heard it before. So let's hear Martha Lawrence, because she describes situation with her brothers with their diabetic issues.
Mm-hmm.
Good evening.
Hi.
I just wanted to comment and say that I've been on the Micro Daily now since about April. And yes, my A1C, I was considered pre-diabetic, and my A1C has dropped tremendously. And also my brother in Virginia, he's diabetic very bad. He takes the insulin and 10 other medications. And what I did, I sent him 4 bottles of Micro Daily, and I told him to take it 2 times a day. And he's been taking it now for about the last, I guess, 6 weeks. Well, anyway, another brother of mine called and asked me, what did you send Robert Van? So I told him some supplements, Micro Daily. He says, you know, he looks good. He says before he was like dying right before our eyes. His skin was dried out. He was just looked so unhealthy, and he had lost so much weight. He says now he's like a flower that was dying and was watered, and he has come back to life. So even Robert Van told me, he called and he says, I feel better. He says, I'm picking up weight. He says, and I have an overall feeling of healthiness. But anyway, I told him not to stop taking his medications, to wait until he go and, you know, to see his doctor, you know, take his blood work and let the doctor take him off of his medications. So far, so good. He's doing much, much better. And I just wanted to let you know that Micro Daily did it. Well, for me, I was having a lot of problems with allergies.
Good. That's good, Nick. That covers the diabetes part of it. So your next slide, Dr. Prasad, kind of illustrates what she was describing, because you just said the benefits that a person would experience. This oxidative stress. So obviously her brother was experienced this an improvement in insulin resistance and his body's ability to absorb glucose.
Yeah, I think it is that even though he has been on many drugs, but obviously it was not fully controlled, whether the A1C or blood glucose level, and Micro Daily is just like one of the slides that we described to you, that that for him the collagen would be very, very important. And you know, for his brother, he's taking just Micro Daily alone, but taking also, as you will see, the probiotics is very important. Those three items. But
yes, that's your next slide.
Yeah, Micro Daily EM. This is the reason, protects receptors, insulin receptor, as well as their AKT or their another pathway, by reducing oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. And that's why they allow the glucose transporter protein 4 to get to the cell surface and let the glucose come into the cell, inside the cell, for generation of energy.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's the probiotic boost.
Yeah. Yeah, probiotic is very important because it has been shown and published scientifically in the literature that in case of diabetes, or in case of any other disease, in case of you don't have a disease but you are an older person, the balance of bacteria shifted in the favor of the harmful bacteria. And what harmful bacteria does, it instead of producing good stuff, it started producing a toxic chemical such as pro-inflammatory cytokines that is get absorbed from your intestine and damages all organ in your body. And so it is very important. And then when we give a supplement with the probiotics that also have prebiotics, it shifted the composition or ratio of the bacteria in favor of a beneficial bacteria, which is very important because beneficial bacteria can ferment your soluble and insoluble fiber and generates a lot of short-chain fatty acid, which is not only important for the intestine health, but also important for producing short-chain fatty acid like butyric acid, which is very, very important for your health.
Right. Gotcha.
Now, here is the current drug treatment and has been very useful in reducing the rate of progression of the damage. And however, diabetic-related complications continue to develop despite of taking one or more medications right now. And they slowed down a little bit, but have not prevented it. The reason, and these drugs do lower fasting glucose to some extent, A1C, but they do not reduce oxidative stress and chronic inflammation. Therefore, diabetes symptoms continue to progress rather slowly. So until it is very important. So you take a drug, I mean, in the beginning it is very useful, but later on it becomes that one, you become resistant to one, then they give you another, then they give you another. So many diabetic patients, there are 4 or 5.
Short-term benefits.
Short-term benefit. And here the collagen peptides. Then you can say collagen peptide has been shown, one slide we will show you, that collagen peptide has been shown to help in diabetes too. Why? Because there is one enzyme called DPP4 or dipeptidylpeptidase 4, is a long name. This enzyme, DPP4, reduces the production of insulin. And therefore, inhibitors of DPP4 enzyme would improve the production of insulin and decrease the level of glucose in the blood. Therefore, they are prescribed. It is a prescribed medicine. Inhibitor of DPP4 is a prescribed medicine for treating diabetes, but it has a serious adverse effect. Collagen peptide does the same thing, has no toxicity.
Oh, wow. Diabetics.
This
is a big deal for diabetics. This is a big deal.
Yeah. And which is one of the major drugs because, if pancreas can't produce because there is another protein that inhibits so DP4 is a bad enzyme which reduces the production of insulin. And I was surprised when I studied
peptide.
And here is this clinical data to prove that. Huh?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, here is a clinical data to prove that. Do we have clinical slide?
Yes. This is your double.
Yeah, placebo trial. If you don't have, I can explain it because I remember it. Here is double-blind control data in which the patients were all the 4 or 5 medication for reducing the treatment of the glucose. They are calling the drug group. So drug group which has 5-6 different drugs, fasting glucose was 125. Collagen peptide plus drug, only thing variable was they kept taking all these drugs, but only addition in that was collagen peptides. So if you combine those two, the blood glucose was dropped further because 125 is a borderline pre-diabetic stage, but 105 is a normal level. And so you can see that collagen peptide further, even at that means that patient must be very advanced stage, taking 4 or 5 medication. Right. Even at that late stage, collagen peptide alone
improved it
further. A1C drug group has a 6, which was good, but collagen peptide reduced it further, which is 5. So in this case, I want to mention that 105 milligram is okay. But suppose in some cases, especially it happens to type 1 diabetes, sometimes they develop hypoglycemia. In other words, blood glucose becomes too low. So if it happens once in a while, it is okay. Otherwise, if it is too low, that means your brain is not getting enough glucose for energy. Brain requires a lot of glucose for energy. And if you are not providing enough because of maybe insulin was more excessive amount was injected or whatever happens, and it happens frequently, this can affect your memory.
Not good.
Hypoglycemia. So hypoglycemia, you have to maintain it. And when you can say it is hypoglycemia, if it goes around 50,
Right. That's
you
too
are
low.
in a terrible shape.
That's
If it is
not good.
70, it is a mild hypoglycemia. You require immediate attention, make sure it goes up.
Right. But 80, 90?
80, 90, it will be considered that hypoglycemic, but not too bad hypoglycemic. It has to be 100, around 90 and 100.
90 and 100. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, a plus or minus 5, like 105. 105, I will consider it's a normal.
That's normal. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And here is the concluding remarks about how to prevent and improve treatment. First, diet, I want to emphasize. Diet that we mentioned many times, that you all remember it. So I will escape diet, but you must modify your diet, lifestyle. Environment you can control, genetics you can control, but lifestyle and diet, it is in your hand. And you must do as much as possible,
Yeah.
And then on the top of that, in my opinion, you must have a micro daily EMF in combination with probiotics, and prebiotics could be useful in the prevention of diabetes type 2. And in the treatment, it will be equally important for both in combination with collagen peptide and probiotics, but also not only type 2 diabetes, but also in type 1 diabetes. So those people who have type 1 or type 2 diabetes, their pancreas can't help anything. So you have to make sure that you are giving some insulin. Only way you can get insulin is from outside, because pancreas is almost there. And so there is insulin is absolutely essential. But insulin requirement kept growing because to control the glucose. But if you are taking this kind of strategy, that you will require a small amount of insulin to maintain your glucose level, just like a normal person does it.
Perfect. Okay. That's outstanding, Dr. Prasad. We got a few questions that are coming up.
Sure. I will be glad to do that.
Just for the record, though, folks, you want to get back with the person that invited you, and the Dr. Prasad's Choice bundle is very easy to get. They will help you to identify that. As a reminder, especially for those who may have just come in, take a screenshot of this. We highly recommend that you grab these books by Dr. Prasad off Amazon. That QR code will take you straight to Amazon to get Dr. Prasad's latest book on dementia. So at age 88, 87, this man was still writing books. He's publishing papers and everything. So his cranial activity is on fire. That's all we can say. But get back to the person that invited you, and they will guide you as to how to get access to these amazing products. So we're going to take a couple of minutes now for the few minutes that we have left to answer just a few of your questions. We encourage you to keep your questions brief, please, to allow for the most amount of questions, and try to confine your question to the current subject matter, if at all possible, please. So Keith Hollins has a question, and I think there was some questions in the chat too. So go ahead, Keith, please.
Greetings, everybody. This is Keith Hollins and Muhammad. Glad to be on the call. I have just listening to the answers and the information that was given. I was in no way, when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, the average, I guess, person that would say, well, yeah, you are definitely a candidate. I was not overweight, still not overweight, never been obese. When I was diagnosed, I thought I won a trip, and my numbers were 600. My numbers have always been high. Okay. I started recently taking Dr. Prasad's micro dailies, and I started with just one bottle, and then I went to the probiotic, prebiotic, and the EMF micro dailies. And so I'm consistent with that now. I noticed that I told myself I was going to go ahead and start checking my numbers again because it was so, when I checked them, so, just hurtful to see them. So when I checked it, my numbers were 427. And then it went down from there all the way to 277 with my fasting. But then when I would eat, it would go back up. Last time I checked it, it was 311. So I'm still, I guess in the beginning stages of taking the micro dailies. Now I heard him say that I needed to take the collagen too. So it seemed like the whole barrage. And I'm just kind of like, I'm watching certain things happen. The neuropathy, when I would try to make fists, I could feel the neuropathy real bad. I've noticed that has pretty much kind of like, I'm not gonna say it's all the way gone away, but I can make a fist now, and that's good. My feet, I would notice at night it's almost like my feet were like frozen, and I wonder why my feet felt like they were frozen, but they weren't black. I could feel them, and I noticed that there's some movement there because it's not as neuropathic, for lack of a better word, as they used to be. So I'm noticing some changes there. But the numbers, man, the numbers are still like, I just hate taking my numbers because it's like my numbers have always been high, but I don't have what you wouldn't look at me and say, oh, he's diabetic.
Right.
How much A1C was? How much he has A1C?
Well, I haven't had that checked in a minute. All I do is just check my number. But when I was first diagnosed, my A1C was like, I think 13.
Very high.
Yeah, check it.
I think you're taking microdaily EMF, right?
Yeah.
And once you started taking probiotics and these things, then you have been only for a few. How long you have been?
It's been about. I went through one bottle. Now I'm on my second bottle. Yeah.
So generally, we always recommend 90 days because this is not a quick like medicine that you will have next day observe. It is a slow effects. And like you mentioned that you may not be obese, but for example, in India, not many people are obese, but they have this diabetes because they are exposed to all kind of other chemicals and the environmental and the stress. I don't know, but poor diet, poor nutrition too. I mean, micronutrient deficiency. So you could be skinny, but you don't have enough micronutrient. That will create a lot of oxidative stress and inflammation in your body, even though you are skinny.
And I went on an all fruit diet for about 90 days. And I dropped down to 160 pounds.
Very good. Very good. Well, keep in that direction. Add exercise to your program.
Yeah, exercise is extremely important. Exercise is extremely important. Moderate exercise, if you can do moderate, just walking 25, 30 minutes is very, very important. Very important.
And give it some time. Give it some time. You might want to increase the amount that you're taking too. Instead of taking the regular dose for a healthy 20-year-old, go ahead maybe and add an extra dose for the day also. That as a suggestion, Keith, okay?
Okay, so instead of 2 to 3 times, maybe I should go 4 times, 4 exit?
Just increase the number of capsules. If you're taking it 3 times a day, just add another capsule.
Okay. All right.
All right. Thank you very much, Keith, for your question. So let's get the Morris family was the next question up. Don't forget to unmute, ma'am.
Okay. My question is in regards to an affiliate's customer. She has diabetes and heart condition. So how can she balance the micronutrients along with her medications?
Yeah, micronutrient has no interaction, so it would not interfere what he's taking for a heart medication, for example. And so I will recommend, like Jonathan was saying, take microdaily EMF, the collagen peptide and probiotics. And that's all. And it depends upon whether he has brain problem or eye problem, then of course you use brain boost and eye boost. But if he has no such problem, then at least you can start with these three.
Those 3 items. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome. All right. Thank you very much, Joyce. And maybe one last one here with the iPhone.
Last one. Yeah.
We don't have a name that's the iPhone. What's your name?
I'm sorry, I didn't name it. My name is Suzanne Hill from Louisiana.
Hi, Suzanne. Go ahead.
Hi. Yes, quick question. Just wanted to ask a question. I have a customer that has problem with Alzheimer's, and she's really concerned about her husband. It's really her husband. He's got problem with Alzheimer's. He's depressed a lot and everything, and she just don't want to see him like that anymore. He just don't remember anything, and he gets lost and everything. So what can you all recommend for that, please?
Well, I will recommend the what do you call the EMF, microdaily EMF, a brain boost for sure, probiotics, and as well as collagen peptides. Those 4.
Okay. Thank you so much. And one more question regarding myself. I don't like to eat a lot of food, but I do like to take my products in the morning, 3 twice a day. So do I need to have a lot of food on my stomach? Because I watch my weight a lot and I don't like to eat a lot. So is that important to have a full course meal before I take them?
Not a full meal. She's asking, should she eat a full meal before she takes a product? You
Not
just
full
need to-
meal, just a small amount, some kind of a fat in the
Yogurt?
stomach. While
Well, I
you are
had 2
taking-
bananas. Like I like do 2 bananas or a protein shake in the morning. Is that not enough?
Banana is fat, has fat, some fat, yeah.
That has some fat. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure.
All right, very good. Good questions. And so, Dr. Prasad, we can't thank you enough for
Thank you.
what you brought to the table here. Someone raised a question here just before you go out to leave off, and Nick's going to start us up to bring us home. Would microdaily methylated work in combination with probiotics in the prevention of type 1?
Yes.
Okay, there you go. You heard it. Plain and simple. Bring us home, Nick. So, Dr. Prasad, thank you again. So, listen,
Sure.
folks, remember, this coming Wednesday night, it's Ask Dr. Prasad. So, you got more questions, you bring that on Wednesday night. My next meeting is Tuesday, and then again on Thursday. Then we'll be back again next Sunday. We are inviting Dr. Prasad back next Sunday. So, look out for your emails and your text message if you want to get the subject matter that we're going to be discussing next week. Dr. Prasad, thank you very much again.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Have a good, all right, everybody, you get them on mute. Oh, by the way, folks, if you want to stick around for 10 minutes, we're going to have an opportunity meeting. If you want interested in the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Dr. Prasad. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr.
Thank you, Dr.
Say goodbye to Dr.
We
Prasad.
appreciate you.
Thank
you, Dr.
Love you, Dr.
Prasad.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Dr. Prasad.
Thanks, JR.
Thank you,
Let's
Microdaily
family.
Appreciate you as well.
Have a wonderful
weekend.
Let's
go.
A lot.
And have a good evening.
Okay.
Bye. Bye.
Well, Jonathan, that was quite a meeting, man. I learned so much about diabesity. I'm gonna have to change a little bit of my eating habits, but my wife keep an eye on me though.
Oh, we got to watch you. And the man said eat less protein. Be careful of the kind of proteins we eat. Wow.
Wow. I said
I
the
didn't
same
know
thing. And you know what? We're good. We're getting ready to start in about 3 to 4 minutes. If you had to say in 30 seconds from Dr. Prasad's last hour and about 10 minutes, hour 10 minutes presentation, what was it stood out to you? 30 seconds though. I'm gonna cut you off in 30 seconds because we get real tight. So who wants to raise a hand and tell us what they learned? The biggest thing they learned in the last 1 hour about diabetes. Yeah, 30 seconds there, Ed. Go. You start. Is your 30 seconds strong? Oh, I tell you what.
Who did you say?
Let's Ed is trying to unmute. Let's go with iPhone until Ed can unmute. iPhone, 30 seconds. Unmute, please.
Yes,
iPhone.
I just unmuted. Yes, I haven't named my iPhone, but I am Suzanne Hill from Louisiana. Okay, the main thing that I've learned from Dr. Prasad today is regarding the diabetes issues that a lot of people are having with diabetes. I have family members and friends that are diabetic. So I'm really excited about the information. I want to share that with them on what to take. So that's what I've learned.
And what's your name again?
How beneficial it is. My name is Suzanne Hill from Louisiana.
Okay, Suzanne. Excellent, excellent. Okay,
Thank you.
Shannon, what did you learn? Thank you so much. Shannon, what did you learn? Right quick, 30 seconds. Everybody got their hands up. Unmute so it wouldn't take so long. Okay, go ahead, Shannon.
My main thing is that everything is a balance with everything you do. And these micronutrients help that balance, that it helps everything to balance out, no matter what the condition is.
You know, that's very important. The cells need food, just like the body needs food. The cells need food. These micronutrients balance out. Michelle, you're next.
The fact that the liver play the part that the liver plays when it comes to diabetes, that was totally impressive to me. I didn't know that.
Beautiful. Okay, we're going to go down. Ashby, you're going to be the last one, Ashby. But we'll go with Ed, then Levette family, then Ashby, and that's it. We have to go into the business meeting. Go ahead, Ed.
Okay, in practical terms, many things with diabetes can be improved. So that was real news to me and how it works. So that the micronutrient daily and the regimen that was recommended will really help our friend.
Beautiful. And I appreciate y'all keeping these in 30 seconds, make it easier for me. Ashby, Ashaba, and then Levette is the last.
Yes, hi micronutrient family. I learned that the more glucose we have on our cell receptors is the less oxygen we have, and that's what the cells need for energy. So the less glucose we can put in our body, the more oxygen we have.
You know, that's huge. Thank you for emphasizing that. And that means that people less candy bars, you breathe better. So please keep that sugar under control. And finally, Levette family.
Yes, I appreciate it. Balance. You mentioned just making sure we watch what we eat, how much we eat, exercise, and then make sure we have our micronutrients, and that will be balanced, and we can be okay.
Everybody, those were some beautiful comments.